Hey, so I want to talk about what are the best way to get accounting clients. So, this video is pretty important because a lot of people start their business, and I've kind of found, I've been running my accounting firm since 2015, so a little over 10 years now, about 10 years and a half. But I started noticing along the way that most people kind of fall into the boat of either spend a million years of getting ready because they're so focused on their service, they're so focused on making things perfect, versus other people, they spend some time thinking about how do I get clients, but even when they thinking what should I do to actually get clients, they don't really have a foundation or a blueprint of what it actually means to get clients and build a marketing system. So I want to be able to kind of break that down for you today. And I just took a shower, so my ear has a bunch of water in it. But and also, if you ever want some help growing your business, maybe even try and do this stuff on your own for some amount of time, or maybe you're putting together your plans and you're just hey, I don't want to have to go through this thing alone. Either way, if you want some help, click the link inside the description below the video to book a call with myself. Let's see if I can help you inside of our mentorship program, okay? So let's attack this thing. So whenever we're talking about how to get accounting clients, right, the overall objective is relationships, okay? A lot of people are so focused on getting clients that they don't really understand that all a client is a person that knows you exist, has a need, and has the money to pay you, and then says yes. That's really it. That's really it. It's not necessarily it's this magical thing that just comes out of nowhere, and that you can, if you understand the principle of relationships, you can get a much larger percentage of people to end up wanting to work with you, because in a lot of cases, bookkeeping, yes, it's needed. Don't get me wrong, it's needed, but I think the way that there's a lot of these random gurus online teaching how to start a bookkeeping business. Bookkeeping is the number one needed thing in the entire universe. And it's yes, it's true, but it's also discretionary service, because a lot of these businesses can go and starve their financial understanding for some amount of time just because they're blowing their sales up. They're maybe a sales focused organization, they're really good at marketing, so they have a lot of cash flow coming in, so it's masking a lot of the problems that the bookkeeping would reveal. And it's not until a lot of these guys either hit rock bottom or some of the different things we're going to talk about inside this video that they become aware that they actually can utilize your service. So in a lot of cases, if you can build a relationship with someone, you will get close enough to actually show them these holes and cracks inside of their figurative vessel, right, of their ship towards their success, right? You can be able to show them that, and now the need is actually understood, and you can go. But just to say that every company needs this thing and they're gonna buy from you now, that's not realistic for most cases, right? So this video is also gonna help you understand what does it actually take to get someone to want to work with you. But first things first is relationships. Now, one misconception with relationships that I know this from people in our mentorship program ask this every time we're starting, right? I even had to make a module inside of the program about what this means. And it's education plus action threshold. Okay, so we'll start with education first. Education, a lot of people think when they're thinking of relationships, they have to be best friends, or they want to go out to dinner with this person, or their family is meeting, their families are best friends. That's not necessarily what we're talking about. Relationship in its form and its core is education about your service in general, right? So this kind of goes back to every company kind of needs your service, but a lot of them don't really understand why they might need it at this moment in time. So the more educated a person is, the easier it is to sell them. So in your case, you can do this through conversations, you can do this through content, you can do this by sharing infographics, by sending email newsletters to people, by sending letters to them, by giving them a book on bookkeeping, etc., etc. The next thing that they'd be educated about is education on business in general. So most business owners that are successful operate with a different set of understandings and principles than the average, just everyday person, right? Number one, how they see debt. So most people who don't have a business, they're used to consumer debt, where it's I go take out a credit card to go buy something that I can't afford, or I go take out a loan on a boat, which it gives me pleasure in the short term and midterm, but it doesn't really do anything to move my life forward. Now, I'm not saying that's bad. There's a time and place to have just expenses that that don't help you move the ship forward. But that's where most people use debt, right? Business owners instead, they will use debt, right, where they're playing an arbitrage. They're basically saying, okay, so I'm going to get this, debt, we'll say at 11% interest rate, right? And I'm basically going to then take the money that I get from this debt to go and get a 200, 300, 500, 1,000% return, right? Now that might sound like a lot, 1,000% return, but on some of these companies, if they can, let's say they get a lease for an office space for 12 months, right? $1,500 a month. What is that? It's like $17,000, $18,000 a year. That office can then help them go and generate like $500,000 in their first year business, and it's a huge return that they're able to go and do. Some of them can even do $1.5 million in their first year for like, if it was like a lawyer or some of these like solar panel companies, right? So the way they see debt's very different. Business owners will use debt to go and grow and get a return on this thing, right? So it's not necessarily as scary for a business owner as what it is for a consumer. The next thing is business owners generally tend to be investors, right? So what does that mean? A lot of times, like if you're talking to a business owner and like they're getting started, they might not want to invest in bookkeeping, coaching, mentoring, equipment, people, right? Because they're so afraid because they don't have a lot of money, right? And they don't really have an understanding of like you use money to go and get more money, right? So when you try and sell them your bookkeeping services, a lot of times they'll say things like, oh, it's too expensive. I don't know if I need that right now. Oh, I don't really see why I should pay you that much money. It's just because they don't really understand. Versus business owners that are either successful now or they're going to be successful in the future are people that are willing to say, okay, so cool. So if I take $5 today and I can get $50 back every single time, why would I not keep making that trade as long as that spread or arbitrage between the we'll say $45 profit per dollar spent, right? They keep doing that over and over and over again. So when you're talking to an actual educated business owner, it's a lot easier for you to get them to want to work with you because they understand the principles of investing, debt, and just growing their business in a way that 99% of people never even think about, right? So that's education, right? More educated the person is, easier to sell. The next thing when it comes to relationship is the action threshold. So this kind of plays on the last step, right? So action threshold is basically I almost kind of think of it as like, what is the minimum amount of effort or understanding a person needs to have or have experience in order to make a decision. So people that are like a lot better in business, they have a lower action threshold. So you'll hear people say like, successful business owners make faster decisions than a regular person, right? And that's because the more decisions you have to make, the easier decision making becomes, and you create like mental shortcuts called heuristics that allow you to make better quality decisions much faster, right? So, but not every single person has the same level of speed when it comes to the action threshold. So for example, there are different types of personalities. Like someone who's like an engineer, they might have a fast action threshold, but they might need to see a bunch of like a plan, right? So they say, okay, so you're gonna do this deliverable, this deliverable, this deliverable, this deliverable. It's gonna take this much time, it's gonna be done by this date, you're gonna need this much, it's gonna go into it, and they might need to see like a full plan. Versus some people like who are like, maybe they're more like salespeople, right? They just need to know that it's going the right direction, this is the return, boom, they're ready to go. So you have to be able to really balance that action threshold with the person you're speaking to in order to get people to want to work with you. Now, in terms of an action threshold, it's basically built up by time and trust, right? So time we kind of covered, it's like the more educated a prospect is, the less time they need to go and make a decision, right? So educated on your company, educated just on business in general, right? We just kind of touched on the last couple minutes. The next thing is trust, right? So the more they trust you, the faster they can make a decision. That's why it's all about relationships and getting people to know you and building trust. There's 3 elements of trust though. So element 1 is your company. So for a lot of us, like, you as the owner is your company, but as you start getting more established, like how long have you been around for? Do you have a staff? What kind of services do you offer? What industries do you work with? Do you have a specialty? Do you have a unique service no one else can offer? Like what makes you as a company unique? And if you don't know this right now, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Like we can help you develop. I can help you inside our mentorship program. But like at the end of the day, like don't feel bad if like you don't 100% stand out. Like, you don't necessarily need to get your first set of clients. You don't need to exponentially stand out amongst the crowd. But if you're going to start really growing faster and growing either getting larger clients or growing at an abnormally fast pace, you need to have something that separates yourself. Okay. Next thing is you as the owner. So again, like in the beginning, like you're gonna be the owner, will be the company, right? In most people's cases who watch this thing, right? So they're basically one and the same when you're starting out. Now, as you start growing, you as the owner is going to be like a different separation, right? Because then you can start talking about like, what experience do you have? Do you have like special degrees? Do you have special trainings? Do you have a lot of experience working with people like either in a paid or unpaid capacity? Do you have a family member that was inside the same industry, right? Having those are going to really help you as well. Now, again, some people might be watching, they have no experience. Okay, there's transferable experience you can use from your past life in order to do it. Now, if you don't know how to understand like what is the transferable experience, that's something we help you out with inside our mentorship program. For every single person that we work with, we have you create what's called an attractive character story. So this is almost like an origin story, right? So every great movie, right, they have a main character that has a very, very good origin story. Now, when I say every great movie, like every movie that has like some form of like a expanded universe and has been around for multiple years, right? Think Luke Skywalker from Star Wars, right? It has like, where he started, where he's going, all these things, right? And I don't have time in this video to kind of break down the hero journey and like how to actually make that. We do have a video on this channel that breaks down how to do your attractive character, but all I have to say is like, in order for you to be memorable, you have to be able to talk about your life. And I'm not saying you have to brag about your life, and like some people I know, they feel like, I don't want to brag, I don't want to come across like, I'm being arrogant, right? It doesn't have to be like that. You can just tell straight facts. You're not bragging if you're just telling the facts. It just so happens the fact is really good, But also, if maybe the facts about your life aren't that good, there's a way that you can tell the story to paint it in the best possible light. Now, I'm not telling you to lie to people. Like, don't, like, if you're like 1 year in the game, don't say you've been in the game for 50 years. It will come back to kind of haunt you. So it's like, we just have to tell the truth, but tell in a good way, right? We often call it a story well told. A story well told. So, for example, you can talk about, let's say that you, I don't know. Let's say that you're driving a car, right? You're telling your spouse about how you drove home from work, right? You could say, "Hey, I drove through every single puddle. I hit 7 potholes. I think I cracked the frame of my wheel. I popped a tire, and then also like I cussed this guy out in traffic and flipped him off. And he almost got into a fist fight." Okay, those could be the facts, but alternatively, you can flip that story and say, "Hey, I made it home safe. I escaped from a dangerous situation. I was able to do my best avoiding potholes. I didn't really fully, miss all of them, but I did my best. The drive was pleasant. I was going at a really nice speed. I felt the wind in my hair," right? Those are 2 stories of the same event that happened. So you in business, you always have to choose, like, what's the story you tell? You know what I mean? The third thing when it comes to trust is about your product or your service, right? So now for us, a lot of people are like, "Well, I'm in a service business." I understand, but in a lot of cases they call it the product that you're delivering, right? Especially if you're doing a cleanup, it's like it's essentially a product. Same thing with like attachment, it's a product. It's a service that you're delivering a product, right? So the better you can be at this, and the better you can show how good you are at what you do, the easier it is to get people to trust you, right? So in a lot of cases, like if you're doing, like, let's say you're doing tax planning, like you watch this channel, you offer tax planning, having a really solid either case study strategy where you can actually reveal exactly what you did for the person, how much they saved, as well as maybe testimonials, can really, really, really help you, because then you can show it to people, and then even if you're not the best, like most experienced as a business owner, and your company's only been around for 10 days, you can still get clients at the right price points. Next thing is the amount. So the amount of relationships you have are extremely, extremely important, right? The reason why is because a part of, like, when we talk about action threshold, it's also about what is the stage of awareness that a person is at. There was a good marketing book titled Good Leads, right? Actually, I believe it's called Great Leads. But basically what it's about is, like, there's 5 different stages a person can go through as far as being aware and ready to buy from your service. Now, we're going to focus on really 3 in this, 3 out of the 5, just for this example, right? The first one's unaware. Another one is called problem aware. The third one is called solution aware, right? Unaware, they don't know anything about what you're offering. Problem aware is like they know what the problem is, but they don't really know anything past that. They're just like, oh, I'm in pain. I have a toothache. Third is like solution aware, right? So they have a toothache and they've started looking around for different like dentists. They just don't know which dentist they want to work with, right? So if all of your leads are in this unaware stage, they don't really need a bookkeeper, they don't even know like what a bookkeeper is, you're gonna need a billion of them, right? Versus if your leads are all aware of accountants and bookkeepers and they're hunting down a different bookkeeper, a different accountant, right? Then you might need under 100 leads. So the better you can get at marketing, all you're really doing is learning how to use systems, people, relationships to sift through to find the people that are most solution aware, and then just focus on building the relationship. If you can find 100 business owners that are potentially interested in getting bookkeeping services, and you can talk to them over the course of a year, you're not gonna have to worry about like money again. Like, I know it might sound weird. Now, I'm not saying you're gonna make $1 billion. I was misled, right? Someone told me this a long time ago. They said like, if you do X, you're never gonna have to worry about money again. And when I got to that point, I was like, wait, but I'm not rich, right? I don't have $10 million in the bank. And I was like, oh. But what he told me was, you're not gonna have to worry about money again. And I haven't had to worry about money, blessedly, right? So I'm telling you the same thing. If you can go and find 100 business owners, now it doesn't mean 100 business owners that need you to say that or need to tell you that they want to buy your service, just people that are interested potentially in that service. You have 100 people like that, done deal. If you can't find that, and like I know it's easier said than done, right? That's why we have different videos on this channel, and that's why we have a mentorship program, right? Because if it was that easy, every single bookkeeper would be a millionaire in like their first couple months of business. But it's not. You have to also learn how to build a relationship with those 100 people, learn how to price your services, learn how to do sales calls, and learn how to really get the client experience to go to a spot where like you can manage a good amount of clients. Like if you just got 20 new clients tomorrow, it'd be hard for a lot of people to be able to kind of manage that, right? So you have to get all the other steps aligned. Now, also inside of my next video, I'm building another set of videos right now, right? So like I always like to kind of build them in batches. My next set of videos are going to break down how to actually message people on social media in order to start accomplishing some of these goals and start getting more clients. Now, I don't know when I'm going to publish that. It might be a couple days from now. It might be a couple weeks. It might be a couple months. If you don't want to wait for any of these like future videos, and you just want to like go and reach your goals in a shorter period of time as possible, just go click the link inside the description, book a call with me. Like don't wait. Like, there's nothing wrong with watching a bunch of free videos like this, and like I do like put out a lot of videos that kind of break down in very great detail how to do a lot of this stuff. But in a lot of cases, like there's a lot of interpretation kind of risk that you run, where it's like you could, just like how when that guy told me like you'll never have to worry about money again, I assumed that I would be a billionaire, like not a billionaire, but like decamillionaire by the time that I did that thing, right? But it was an interpretation error that I had, right? I misinterpreted what he said. The same thing can happen with any of these different like steps or process or procedures, where I could tell you something inside of a video and you could try it and maybe it just doesn't work for you with the way that it's prescribed inside the video, right? But if you have something that's custom to you, I can be able to say, okay, so I know the video says this, but I want you to tweak it like this because maybe you're an introvert, maybe you're an extrovert, maybe you like making video content, maybe you like writing and making written content, maybe you don't want to make any content, right? So I have to be able to customize specifically for you. So if you want some help and you want to be able to go get custom support to reach your goals in a much faster way, click the link inside the description. Let's book a call. Let's see if I can help you out, okay? Also to note, we don't just take on 1 billion students. We do keep it very, very private as far as like our mentorship program. Number one reason is because I never wanted to be on like, holding like calls with people where it's like 100 people sitting inside a waiting room waiting for someone to answer their questions. I want to make sure it's very personalized so you can get as great a results as possible. So if you want to be part of the 10 people for this month, click the link inside the description, book a call. Let's see if I can help you out, okay? I will talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day. Take it easy.